From the Standing Stone Farm Studio right outside downtown Nashville, it's time for the most ridiculous sports podcast in the world. So sit back, relax, and listen as Bobby Butler and Brandon Bond crack open a cold one and talk all things hockey, pop culture, and complain about everyday situations. It's the Pucks Out Podcast on the Penalty Box Radio Network.
Hit it, Bobby. Hit it. Emergency sewed, bro.
Yeah, hockey is back, and we are here to talk about it. So welcome into the Pucks Out Podcast. Let's crack some beers and talk about hockey finally coming back.
Let's do it. Let's do it. But to be fair, I'm cracking open a malt liquor, okay? Got this King Cobra. You got that Miller Lite. I can't even open mine, bro. Like,
I got a Miller Lite Tall Boy.
That's the kind of day it's been for me. Is I can't even open my King Cobra.
We're excited. So, but don't forget to check out our What a Maneuver store to get all the apparel you need. Check us out on the three majors of social media at Pucks Out Pod on YouTube and on Patreon as well. Man, today's a good day. It's been a good week to an extent.
We don't usually record on Thursdays, but we told you guys we were going to bring you an emergency episode, and here we are. I mean, you heard the horns. That signifies. And then, by the way, I do want to correct something that I've just said. I said this was a malt liquor. This is a premium malt liquor, bro. So, I mean, there you go. Let's get into it, buddy.
Yeah.
Let's go. How you been doing this?
Good,
this
man.
2 days, I guess.
got some new toys. Got a new mic, and it just started downpouring like crazy.
Downpour, bro. Downpour. I was like, what the hell, man? Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, you got yourself a new mic so you can try to sound better than me, bro. It ain't gonna happen, dude. Lots to discuss. I mean. Actually going to be giving awards, and so the ones that you win by default, I'm calling BS on, but the ones I win were clearly earned and worked hard for, obviously. So the people will see. People will see through this.
But yeah, so the Art Ross went to Draisaitl, and the Rocket Richard to Ovechkin. So, but both of us lost on the Art Ross, and I won the double down.
Thank God I tricked you into not picking Draisaitl because you were about to pick him, and I was like, "Come on, bro, you gotta pick McDavid," and you did.
Yeah.
So,
but all right, so I guess we should start off with Bettman's address. Pretty
Boo.
much. Boo. Speaking of that, so the man who we don't want to talk about, but I guess we're going to, Mike Milbury, joined Twitter. And his second tweet out of the gate was that people shouldn't boo the commissioner.
Yeah.
Like, do you know the audience at all?
Well, he knows his audience. And so, like, people are going to follow Mike Milbury because they hate him, not because they love him. Like, he plays into his role. So
yeah, he plays a good heel.
I think what they ought to do is, if they're having to, when Bettman's giving out the cup, I think the NHL ought to allow people to send in their booze, and they pump in the booze from across the world. I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, Gary Bettman takes it pretty good in stride. I mean, I think that's a badge of honor for commissioners to get booed, you know? So, I mean, that, like, for the NFL draft, I hated the fact that they had all those fans up and stuff when Goodell was doing the picks, and none of them booed. Like, are you kidding? You got the world watching you, and you don't even boo them.
Yeah.
So we got to boo Bettman.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it feels good. I will tell you that.
All right, so he started off by saying that there will be 2 hub cities to be determined, and we should hopefully know them in the next 3 to 6 weeks. The playoffs will be a 24-team format, which we'll go into further details later. They will be play-in games before the first round, which are best in 5, and the division leaders will have a 3-game round robin within the conference to determine seeding. But this all starts, we're in phase 2 right now. That all starts at the end of all the phases, I guess, at the end of phase 4. Phase 3 won't even start until July 1st at the earliest, and that's when teams can start practicing. You still have to go through that phase, and then I foresee actual puck drop not even happening. If it does happen, around mid-August.
They're going to ruin hockey next year.
Yeah, no, and that's what I said all along. Listen, everyone wants there to be hockey. None of us don't want there to be hockey.
Sure.
The issue is we don't want to mess up 2 full seasons.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I guess it goes back to, are you going to be able to go back to regular hockey anyway? And so they may say, well, we were never going to be able to go and play 82 regular season games next year because, I mean, you couldn't afford that without keeping fans in the stands and concessions and all that stuff. So it may be an instance in which hockey is already going to be ruined next year from the regular season standpoint. So it may be a good opportunity to get some hockey played and something that they can control more and have a specific number of games and a set idea. I'm obviously excited about it, but like you, I mean, it just really depends on what goes on. But you mentioned the 2 hub cities, and it's funny because traditionally you'd say, oh, 2 hub cities, so they're going to play in LA and New York. And like now it's probably like, so they're going to play in Iowa and
there was a list. I didn't do enough homework. I don't have the list of the cities that are in the running. Nashville's not. I believe that I
actually got it right here. Hub cities: Chicago, Columbus, Dallas, Edmonton, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Pittsburgh, Toronto, and Vancouver. I mean, it seems like you've gone the opposite of what you should do. I mean, you shouldn't go to a huge city that is...
So here's the thing. There are multiple things I have to take into account. A, the number of cases of coronavirus in that city. B, are there enough hotel rooms to... But let's be honest. Columbus, I don't think has enough hotel rooms for all the teams. Las Vegas, and I think Las Vegas is the number because their numbers are not bad.
Well, aren't they going to be like outside of the city though? So I mean,
they said they want all the players very close to the arena.
Well, you got to think though. I mean, there's 30 hotel rooms on floors, and so you could do teams per hotel floor,
plus training staff, coaches.
Forget them. No training staff. This is going to be your team and your coach. That's it.
You don't
That's
get
all
tape
you get.
ups.
No tape. No massages. Nothing, bro. This is taking it back to.
Plus, they have taken into account many of these. They're starting to think about, like, the NBA said that the family will be able to come with them. There's a chance this is like a 3-month process. Are they really? And they're saying that they will have to be quarantined. So are they really going to say you can't see your family? Like, some players have already said, listen, by the time this goes, like, his firstborn child is due around that time. So he's, so there's a lot to go into consideration. I believe that Las Vegas and Toronto would be 2 solid locations. I definitely think that they should have one West Coast or Pacific time and one East Coast time. So that, because if you have one like Central time, like in Chicago, and then like in the West Coast, then people on the East Coast are going to be watching late hockey.
I just don't understand why not do 4 hub cities and then move it down to 2 once you get to a, you know what I'm saying? More do 6 and 6 in 4 different cities, and then you can go to even a 3rd hub city and play the playoffs from there. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot more logistics than we're just throwing out here. So,
but we do want to go on record and say there is no guarantee. Yeah, we hit the horn. That doesn't make it a guarantee.
Bobby, when we hit the horn, that was a guarantee, buddy. You can mark my words. We hit the horn, guys. Come at Bobby if we don't play. But I'm going to guarantee it, but Bobby's going to take the heat for it if we don't.
Yeah. But this is just an outline for if hockey comes back. Let's be honest. If we see a second coming of the virus, they're going to call it off. They're not going to do this. I mean, you already have players like Max Domi, who's a diabetic, saying he will not take any part in this playoff. Yeah, he can't, because he can't risk it. And I mean, listen.
Right, your whole career for one weird playoff that even if you do win the cup, people are going to asterisk that cup. You know, I mean...
And I disagree with the asterisk on the cup, but people will do it. I mean, people will asterisk anything.
Sure. I mean, unless your team wins, you're going to say, well, that wasn't a real playoff.
Yeah. Even though some could say this playoff is harder than the normal Stanley Cup playoffs, which is already the hardest playoffs in any sport.
You could say that, but I only will... if the Preds win. Yeah. If they don't win, I'm obviously going to be like, yeah, well, it wasn't really a fair comparison to...
But, all right, so let's move into what the actual playoff bracket entails. Let's start in the East. The top 4 seeds who are going to have a round robin are Boston, Tampa Bay, Washington, and Philadelphia. Honestly, at halfway through the season when we started this podcast, I said Boston was my clear favorite to win it all. It's hard to bet against Philly right now.
Yeah, for sure.
However,
I'm feeling...
looking at those teams and moving into the play-in rounds, Columbus, man, if any team has benefited from this break, it's Columbus.
Yeah.
The amount of players they're going to get back is going to be insane, and they're going to be a tough team to beat. And Toronto is hating life, because if they do get past Columbus, then they're more than likely they'll probably have to play Boston.
I disagree, honestly. As much as I've talked up Columbus, I mean, it's not as though I'm a Columbus hater. I've talked them up all year. That's the teams that I brought up, and I wanted to highlight what they've done with their team and not having a bunch of guys over $7 million and losing all those guys. I think it benefits Washington the most, and I really mentioned that last week when we talked about Washington. Just getting, you already got a veteran core that won the cup a couple years ago, and they were poorly streaking. They were streaking downward, and you give them some time to reset.
Yeah, this break is great for older guys.
Ovechkin has been quarantining, so he's got back to his normal liter of vodka a day, and that's just really what he needs to produce. But I'm super excited. The teams in here, and we're most certainly, not most certainly, you can't guarantee anything in the playoffs, but you always know hockey is unlike, it's not like NBA basketball where the 8 seed's never gonna win. It's just not gonna happen. It's not saying, I don't even know if it ever has, but I'm not saying it can't, but I'm saying it just generally doesn't. But hockey, man, we're going to see one of these 12, 10, 11, 9 seeds that advance pretty far, in my opinion. You can't, like you said, Columbus, but they have a tough matchup right off the bat and against Toronto.
Yeah.
Toronto really benefited from this process. Panthers playing the Islanders, I think that's going to be a really, really good matchup.
So just a quick rundown of the play-in rounds. We got number 6 Carolina taking on number 11 New York Rangers. They will play the number 3 seeded team. Number 7 Islanders versus number 10 Panthers. A winner will play number 2. Number 5 Penguins versus number 12 Habs will play number 4. And then the 8th seed Leafs will play the 9th seed Jackets, who will play number 1.
Yeah, man. Obviously I feel like the Penguins got a pretty nice draw there. The Habs, not what you would look at as a real playoff contender. Hey, look, I hope they go out and they win. I am very, very excited for that Carolina-New York Rangers matchup because, yes, Rangers are the 11 seed, but they were streaking kind of like Philly was towards the end of the year. And so Carolina, the Hurricanes, we'll see. We'll see what team shows up. And we've talked about that, is that was their biggest problem, was they had a tough time winning games that they should definitely win. I'm excited for that particular series. But there is no, in NHL, there is no easy game at all. So if you had to pick 1 through 4 on the top 4 seeds, who do you think is going to get what seed there?
I think number 1 is between Philly and Boston.
Okay.
I'm going to go from recent performance. I believe I want to go with recent performance, but I also want to go with history, and history tells me Philly's going to choke. So I'm going to go Boston at 1, Philly at 2, Washington at 3, and Tampa at 4.
I'm going to go Boston, Tampa, Philly, Washington, I think is where it'll land. And obviously we have no idea, but
and also we have to take into account that, how seriously are these teams going to take the round robin games? Do they really want to exert all, because do they really want to exert all their energy and risk injuries before, just to, because let's be honest, how big of a difference is it going to be between them taking on Carolina or Columbus?
Well, I would say you definitely wouldn't want the 4 seed and have to go play the Penguins. But for sure, that'll be the biggest determining factor. Is, it wouldn't be tough, to get that 1 seed. That's again another tougher matchup.
Yeah.
If you're asking, I think I'd rather have the 2 seed.
Yeah,
or the
that's
3
what I'm
seed,
looking at. Yeah.
So it's going to be weird how they exert their energy.
Yeah. And one good thing is that they are allowing unlimited roster spots.
Okay.
Or not unlimited. I'm sorry, unlimited goalies, but like 20. They're adding a lot of roster spots.
That is super weird because I didn't get a phone call from John Hines. So are you sure?
Oh, did he not loop you in on the conference call? My bad.
that was you. You were supposed to call me. No, but I'm excited. So let's go over to the West. The top 4 seeds in the West are St. Louis, Colorado, Vegas, and the Stars.
Central holding it down.
Central holding it down. Some scary, scary teams up there for sure. But to go into this the play-in rounds, those are the top 4 seeds for the round robin. Number 8, Calgary Flames playing number 9, Winnipeg Jets. The winner will play the number 1 seed, and that's a tough draw for any of the team that gets the 1 seed. Number 5, Edmonton Oilers playing the number 12 Blackhawks. Winner will play number 4. I mean, that's not really a spot that I think I'd like to be either, honestly. Vancouver playing number 7, Vancouver playing number 10, Minnesota. They'll play the number 2 seed.
I think that's the money spot to get is the number 2 seed right there.
Yeah, and I mean, as hot as Minnesota was and how we talked them up, I mean, they were more streaking than they were a team that you fear. You know what I'm saying? And then finally, the number 3 seed Predators are playing the number 11 seed Arizona Coyotes, and they'll play.
I'm sorry, they're the number 6 seed.
6
Preds.
seed. Oh yeah, I shouldn't just blindly trust you, man. The 6 seed Preds playing the number 11 seed Coyotes, and the winner will play the number 3 seeded team. I would say that that's probably one of the more favorable matchups for teams. Unfortunately for us, I mean, I don't want to be sitting here saying that, but we don't. If the top-notch Predators team comes to play, you don't want to see them. But we don't even know if they're going to go back and get by the Coyotes. You know what I'm saying?
The Coyotes have given us a lot of trouble over the years.
Yeah, and I mean, Taylor Hall has an opportunity to come in and take a terrible, what has traditionally been a terrible franchise to. I mean, you want them. They want to win a playoff series. I mean, there's certain teams here that winning one series is a victory, in my opinion. I mean, Columbus, if they can win their matchup, that's a victory. If the Coyotes can win their matchup, that's a victory. I mean, it's like even the 12 seed Blackhawks. I wouldn't say that that's a victory for them because they've won cups before. You know what I'm saying? It's a very intriguing.
They know how to win in the playoffs unless it's 2 years ago.
Exactly.
Then they don't know how to win in the playoffs.
Exactly. Hey, there was a shortage of brooms, I think, man. No, but I am external from the things that we kind of downplayed as a reason of why we were not as excited about it. I am very, very excited for this type of format. This is something that you don't get to see, but probably will never ever get to see again. I mean, at least in our lifetime. I mean, this is a very, very intriguing prospect for professional sports, and I want to applaud the NHL for getting this together and making it work. Yeah. I mean, even if we don't end up getting this, it shows a concerted effort by the Players Association, Gary Bettman, and all of the owners we want to bring you hockey, but we want to do it safely. And I mean, and another black eye for Major League Baseball. I mean, we're talking about the one sport that it's really fine to play. Like, you're not close up to people. You're not sweating on people, and we've seen in other countries in South Korea that baseball is up and happening. I mean, they're playing baseball right now, and the players union and the owners are squabbling over how much these players need to get paid and all this nonsense. And they don't even have a game plan. So I would like to applaud the NHL, and I would like to boo Gary Bettman, obviously.
Boo.
Boo.
So let's talk predictions.
Okay.
We will fill out our own brackets eventually and get them up on Instagram and Twitter. But if you had to pick a cup final right now, what would be your cup final?
Putting me on the spot. I mean, I know we were doing this episode and I probably should have thought about it, but come on, man. I mean, it's so tough because the NHL playoffs are tough when it is, 16 teams and the seeding and who's going to play who. NHL is so matchup based that we don't even know what the rounds are going to be after this first play-in round. So that's very, very difficult to predict. So it's almost like you want to go with a safer pick here. But my cup final is going to be the Colorado Avalanche and I mean, I've been talking them up. The Washington Capitals, I think.
We're gonna be fucking sucked this year.
Ovi says it best. I mean, yeah, obviously, I think that we should do a pre-bracket and try to predict the seeding, and then after the actual seeding, we'll do a second bracket and we'll see who's closer, because then that'll be a little easier to kind of go through. But just on the surface, now, if it were to come and let's say I'm not picking top seeds. Penguins are hard to bet against right now, man. I think I'm going to go, if I'm picking outside of those top 4 seeds, I think I'm going to go the Flames, man. I was liking what they were doing. So what about you?
Do you think they have enough firepower?
I think Gaudreau can step it up. I think it's, again, going to depend on matchups and what happens. But
they're going to get beat up in that playing round, though.
That is true.
They're going to get beat up.
That's true. I agree.
Even without Big Buff there.
What about you? Who's your just on the surface final right now?
From the West, as much as I want to say the Predators, if they get past the Yotes, I truly don't see them beating any of the top 4 seeds in a 7-game series.
I think we can beat Vegas, and that is literally about it.
And that's still going to be difficult.
Oh, right. I'm not saying we'll beat Vegas.
Not only is it going to be hard to beat Vegas, we have to be on our game But we'll talk about that in a second. But I think out of that group, I like Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah, not a bad call.
If Draisaitl keeps up what he's doing, they've got so much firepower. And in today's NHL, firepower is king. Scoring goals is king. I think the Oilers, and I'm with you.
We're gonna be fucking sucked this year.
The Capitals, man. So Edmonton and Washington.
That would be such a good final. I'm going to tell you, though, I think it's just by nature of who we are. St. Louis Blues are getting a little disrespected right now. You know, if somebody told me, it's going to be St. Louis guaranteed from the West, it's not like I would throw my hands up and be surprised. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I mean, St. Louis has shown not only are they defending Cup champions, but they were above and beyond the best hockey team in the West this year.
Yeah, but towards the end there, they were getting the distance between them and the other teams in the Central were closing.
It was closing, but injuries are playing a factor. Long grueling season, a team that's been there before, maybe hanging it up a few games here and there, and such a dominant lead. I mean, I agree. I didn't pick them. I picked Colorado, and because I believe in Colorado, I really, really think that McKinnon and Rantanen and Landeskog can lead that team. The biggest question for the Avalanche for me is depth. How are those back lines going to do? I mean, if we're just talking number one line, it's hard to bet against them. And it's one of those situations where those guys can score at will if they wanted to. But it'll be very intriguing. But there's not really maybe one or two teams throughout this whole seeding, this whole bracket or this whole playoff system that I don't think could get to the Cup final. You know, I mean, I don't foresee Florida getting to the Cup final. I don't see the Islanders getting to the Cup final. Montreal, obviously, probably not getting to the Cup final. I don't see the Wild getting to the Cup final. Coyotes, maybe, and depending on how depending on what Predators team comes, I'm not sure that I could bet on them to make it to the Cup final.
So say you're behind the bench right now. What goalie is playing Game 1
for the Predators?
Yeah, Pekka or Saros?
Great question. I think I got to go Saros, man.
Yeah, that or it's you tough. Give Pekka the shortest of leashes.
Yeah. I mean,
it's while he's a veteran, his experience in playoffs has shown that
it's nerve-wracking, and it's nerve-wracking because when the guy goes in knowing he has a short leash, I mean, you're already mentally hampering him.
But even if John Hines told him you're good to go, in his head he still knows he has a short leash.
He knows.
Yeah, he knows his experience.
I mean, he had one really good playoffs, 2017. And I mean, other than that, it's been very, very spotty playoff performances. And the worst part is it's not that he's bad against high danger chances. He's bad against goals that should be saved, and that's the worst part. I mean, you score a top-notch goal on a goalie even a fan, if a fan is mad, it's hard to be mad at that guy when a guy top shelves you from behind 6 guys. But there are times that he's way too far out of net, or he goes around on something that he shouldn't go around on, and has to save a high danger chance. Yeah, maybe he saved that, but diving and running or skating, I should say, skating around a lot.
That's his issue. He's not wearing skates.
That's very tiring especially to a 35-year-old goaltender. So as much as I hate to say it, I think that I would go with Saros, honestly.
Yeah. No, and I mean, I could see that. But let's talk about the format.
Well, hold on. Let me hit you with a different question for maybe the other side of the bracket. You're sitting behind the Penguins bench right now. Who are you starting in goal? That's a tough question too, but for the opposite reason that both players are playing pretty great. And I mean, how it's hard to bet against Tristan Jarry, but Matt Murray being right there.
I mean,
you know?
Honestly, we say it's difficult, but let's be honest. You got a guy who's won a Stanley Cup. You start with him. I mean, there's no question about it.
Yeah.
You start with the veteran. Yeah. How long has Jarry been in the league?
I mean, he's been in the league 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
I mean, he's been backing up Murray for a few years, and Murray has shown at times that he can be very spotty himself. So I think that's a tough call, but I mean, I agree. I think that you got to give Murray the opportunity. He's shown you he can do it before. I think another interesting choice for the Blue Jackets though is their goalie situation. I mean, Merzlikins was absolutely on fire, but Korpisalo should be back by now. You know, I mean, so that is but Korpisalo hasn't played hockey in a long, long time, so it'd be hard for me to get him in the game when Merzlikins has literally played the best that you can play.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any update on his injury at first glance.
I think he was already in the process of coming back, like
okay.
right before we hit all this. So very intriguing. Yeah. I mean, we got a couple of good goalie opportunities here to take a look at.
So obviously, a lot of thought went into this format, and I don't see any glaring issues with the format. But what would you like to have seen differently done to the format that, they didn't do?
If we're keeping like the 24 teams,
change it. I mean,
okay,
whatever.
Well,
I mean, how would you have done it?
Like the 24 teams, but I like the 30 team idea that you had, and excluding the one team that didn't make the playoffs. No, but I love the 24 teams. But me personally, I think it would be so dope to just have a 1 to 24 seeding, and you're going to get to see playoff matchups that you will never ever ever get to see again. But even going, okay, we got to keep the East and the West because you don't want 2 East teams contending for the Cup,
which I think
whatever.
is dumb. Why not?
Who cares? Right, the best 2 teams.
Yeah.
But a 1 to 12 would have been really cool, I think. But I mean, it's hard to knock this playoff format.
What would you think about a 31-team playoff where everyone does round-robin games to find their seeding?
I would hate it. I would. I mean, it would be
utter chaos,
to watch.
Which the NHL already is.
That's true. It would be cool, but it wouldn't be fun, I don't think. I think you would get burnt out on crap games for a while. Like, dude, if you have to watch the Sharks play, and then even worse if your team gets beat by the Sharks, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, there are teams
Toronto has an off night against the Sharks.
Any given, this is the NHL, so like any given night, any team can win. So I don't think that I would like to have a bunch of teams that definitely don't deserve to be there. There are some teams that, you could argue maybe don't deserve to be in this format. But it's, there's not any team that outright like, oh my goodness, I cannot believe this team is playing. Maybe the Habs, they had stretches and they have good players and some good youth. And I mean, so look, if the Habs go out there and play their best hockey, I still think it would be a stretch for them to beat the Penguins. They got a really bad draw themselves, So, but personally, I'm excited. I'm very excited. I like a lot of these matchups, and it is cool because we are getting to see some matchups that we may never get to see before.
Yeah.
I mean, the Flames and the Jets, and the Oilers and the Blackhawks, and then the Canucks and the Wild. This is literally Pacific playing the Central in every single one of these play-in rounds, and that's awesome. That is really cool because we're stuck in this format now where you're playing the same teams over and over again each year in the playoffs, and it's not fun. It's not. I mean, oh well, we got to play Dallas, or we got to play Minnesota, or Dallas has to play Minnesota, or we have to play the Blues. It's just boring. I mean, it's not boring because it's the most exciting playoffs in my opinion, in all of sports. It is exciting from top to bottom, and it doesn't matter which game you're playing. But you're like, oh, well, I got to watch this matchup again. And as much fun as it is to watch Philadelphia and Pittsburgh battle it out every year in that 2 and 3 spot, this will be fun to get to see the Penguins play the Habs, and the Leafs play the Blue Jackets, and so I'm very excited about how they really thought this out. And
I just want to see a Calgary-Edmonton matchup.
Yeah, I mean, right. I mean, because of stuff that's happened between them this year, but that is more. You'll normally be able to see a Flames-Oilers matchup if the chips fall right. So I'm just kind of excited to get to see some matchups that maybe we wouldn't see.
Yeah.
But what about you? What would you do if you had your druthers? I love using that word, though, by the way. If you had your druthers, what would you do to change the playoff?
So I'm not a huge fan of the round robin format.
Yeah, I didn't like that as much, but I think it's intriguing.
Yeah. I think they should have just, the division, just taken point percentages how they were and give them the seed. 24 teams, maybe down to 20.
Okay.
Maybe, make it a little bit shorter because let's be honest, this is going to take a long time to finish. But yeah, other than obviously the 30-team format, which would have been hilarious.
It's hockey, Bobby, so there is a lot of Finnish guys.
One thing I did want to talk about was that there was some talk about they don't know if they're going to be able to, say that Chicago gets picked as one of the hubs. They're not sure if they can do other teams' goal horns in the arena, which means that every single goal by no matter who scores would be Chelsea Dagger.
Okay, we're talking about an industry. You're telling me we can set up different goal horns on a friggin' tablet and put it and pump it into our recording. That would be you have at least a month to figure it out. You know what I'm saying? I get it. It's tough. But dude, just Mega Hornet or something, or Megaphone it or something.
How weird would it be to see the Preds score and hear Chelsea Dagger?
Yeah, I would I would be frustrated to say the least. But
or even better, how awesome would it be to hear the Preds goal horn in the United Center?
That would be cool. See, that would be cool, but really, there's only one hub that I think you got to do what that team does whenever they score. Columbus, baby. You gotta shoot off that cannon, bro. That would be the dopest. Did you ever hear the story about the Columbus cannon? Because they use it's just whatever blanks are.
And they accidentally use the full amount.
Well, they didn't use a full. They were like, all right, well, let's just try a half. Yeah. And, just in normal arenas, everybody's in their office and working. It's like morning time. And they said they shot that half shot. And they said people were coming out of their office. They were like, we thought we were this was a terrorist attack, dude. And so I think they use an 1/8 or a 16th of a shot now. But see, that would be dope. Yeah, I think there's no way you can't switch the cannon, dude. That's the.
I just hope that they don't do the higher seed is the home team, so only they get the goal horn. Each team should have their goal horn. No matter what.
That would be missing a real opportunity because. You got to do everything you can do to and hockey itself is entertaining enough, but there's going to be nobody's allowed to go watch their team play hockey, and
both teams wear their home jerseys.
It seems like it would be an easy way to appease a lot of people.
Yeah,
that would be so cool to see other teams' goal horns, especially rivals of that team, their goal horn to see Tim McGraw pop up in the United Center, and that would be one of the coolest things. And I feel like they don't. They probably do understand. They probably just don't want to put in the work, but they don't understand how much people would dig on that, and they would get so much props for one little thing, for playing a noise in another person's arena. I think that would be so cool. I don't know if this is true, and because I don't care if it's true or not, I'm gonna bring it out. I heard that NBC is gonna like let you like record some crowd noise, and they're gonna pump some fake crowd noise into the games and stuff, and that would be cool.
Yeah.
I think that would be super awesome to be like, hey, I wasn't there, but I was.
Yeah.
Listen here. That was me. That was me.
Speaking of that, how do you think the lack of fans is going to affect the players?
Not at all. I don't think that. I
Not
don't
at
think
all?
that it will be a factor in the slightest because they tune us out anyway.
How heavily do you think it's going to affect the viewing experience? from
I
home?
think that it's going to affect it none.
because what I hope they do is that they mic up the ice and mic up the players.
yeah,
Hear the-
well, we got to be careful.
So they do what they do with The Last Dance. Have the regular game, the family-friendly, non-mic'd up version on NBC Sports, but over on the Ocho, have everything mic'd up.
Or let me hit you with this: Cinemax, baby. No, but for real, if they told you like, look, we're gonna do $1 pay-per-view, and you get to hear anything and everything that is said, I'd pay for every single game.
If they told me right now $150 and I get to watch the entire playoff format unedited, unfiltered, I'd pay that in a heartbeat.
I feel like this is what's the HBO show with the football teams? What is it? Hard Knocks.
Hard
Yeah,
Knocks.
like if we got Hard Knocks going, that would be dope, and especially
Why don't they have a
hockey.
Hard Knocks for hockey? It seems like the perfect sport to do it.
Well, because I would say because they don't have the time to edit it. That would just be so much editing because hockey's they're ridiculous, man. I think that it would be pretty scary to hear everything on the ice. But I mean, it would be. I think that it would affect. I think it's going to be cool. I don't think it's going to affect the viewership at
Yeah.
all. I think that maybe if a lot of other sports were happening and this was just a one-off thing, then maybe people would drift away from it. But we're talking about people are starved for real content,
Yeah.
and so like actual playoff series going on. I mean, dude, people were digging on people fake driving, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
driving video games and like, you're the oldest school redneck that you ever knew in your entire life was jazzed up about virtual racing. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
like, I think they'll have some of the biggest viewership that they've ever had.
So who do you think, just before we sign off, who do you think benefits the most? What team has benefited the most from this format?
The easy answer would be the teams that weren't going to get in
Yeah.
already.
but of the teams that were going to be in the playoffs, what team benefited the most and what team probably hates this the most?
The team that probably hates this the most would be, I'm going to go with that one first. The team that probably hates this the most my guess would be the Maple Leafs. They having to go in and play a healthy Columbus, potentially at their arena.
And then being told, oh, you have to beat them. Oh, and then you might still have to play Boston in the first round.
Yeah, so I think that the Maple Leafs are probably frustrated with this. But I think the team that benefited the most, it's hard not to say the teams that were suffering injuries and were having bad stretches. I think that Philly probably suffered because they were on such a hot streak and then just abruptly had to stop. I think Washington probably benefited from the break.
With having that veteran core, giving time to rest up.
Columbus obviously benefited due to their massive amounts of injuries. Edmonton, I would say, benefited because of getting their guys back in action.
Yeah, but do you think this affects Draisaitl's hot streak, or do you think he can just turn that switch?
Yeah, I think he's one of those guys that can just turn it up. And besides the fact that even if he doesn't turn it up, the other guy they have on their team can always turn it up.
He's a little good at
He's
hockey.
all right. He's okay. If you don't know who we're talking about Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. No, but I think there are definitely some beneficiaries. I think the Coyotes benefited. I don't know if the Preds benefited. I think that we may be one of those that didn't benefit as much. I think it's more neutral than it is anything for us. We didn't get hurt but we didn't benefit either. Blackhawks obviously benefited because they have a real chance of going and winning another cup, being a 12 seed. I think the Avalanche benefited getting some injury and some rest. Even though they're young, they have some superstar core to them. So I think that they benefited. But yeah, I mean, I think that would pretty much be, I mean, everybody benefited or got hurt essentially, and some were more neutral. But those are my kind of just looking through them and saying who benefited and who didn't. What about you, man? You got anybody outside of what I just said?
Man, I think Washington benefited the most with their veteran core. You know, those guys, they don't have the Draisaitl's and the McDavids who can just, obviously Ovi can just turn it on, but even Ovi at his age needs time to recoup a little bit.
What about Brandon Leipzig, though?
Yeah, he
didn't benefit.
No, he did not benefit from this time off. And then as far as, I mean, I want to say Philly because they were just going to coast in. And now they've got to play against, I mean, I think the top 4 teams really didn't benefit from this because they've got to play that round robin, and then
that means nothing essentially except for who you get to play. Yeah, for sure, I agree with that.
Yeah, but all right, guys. Before we sign off, do you have anything you want to leave us off?
No, buddy, go Preds. That's what I gotta say, man.
Go
you know
Preds,
where our loyalties lie.
But most of all, go Sports.
Go friggin' Sports, dude. I'll be okay. Look, no, I can't say it. I was gonna say I'd be okay if the Blackhawks or the Blues won. No, I wouldn't be. I'm gonna be honest with you. Yeah, I would be. Yeah, I would fight for the asterisks for sure, man.
But all right, everyone, this was an awesome special episode. We will see you guys next week, I guess.
Have a King Cobra. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Pucks Out Podcast. To see what other ridiculousness the guys are up to, check them out on Twitter and Instagram @PucksOutPod.